Rain lashes against the windshield as George's headlights cut through the darkness. The wipers struggle to keep up, revealing glimpses of a desolate Vermont landscape. Lightning flashes, illuminating gnarled trees that claw at the sky. George's knuckles whiten on the steering wheel, his journey seeming endless in this relentless storm. The radio crackles with static, voices fading in and out like ghostly whispers. He reaches to turn it off, plunging the car into eerie silence. Miles of empty road stretch before him, a black ribbon cutting through forgotten lands. George's eyes strain in the darkness, searching for any sign of civilization. His mind wanders to what led him here. A life left behind, a new start promised. But with each passing mile, doubt creeps in like the encroaching shadows. The car sputters, engine protesting against the torrential rain. George's heart races, the thought of being stranded here unthinkable. He leans forward, peering through the gloom, hoping for a glimmer of hope on the horizon. And then he sees it, a faint light in the distance. Relief washes over him, but it's short-lived as the light flickers. It's not the warm glow of a town, but something different. The road curves sharply, revealing an old farmhouse looming in the darkness. Its windows seem to watch George pass, like hollow eyes following his every move. He slows the car, an inexplicable urge to stop tugging at him. The farmhouse calls to him, a siren song of shelter from the storm. George pulls over, the engine's silence amplifying the rain's assault. He sits for a moment, debating the wisdom of approaching the ominous structure. Lightning strikes again, casting the farmhouse in stark relief. For a moment, George swears he sees a figure in the window, but it's gone in an instant. His curiosity outweighs his caution. As he steps out into the downpour, the mud sucks at his shoes, as if trying to hold him back. The farmhouse looms larger with each step, its weathered boards creaking in the wind. The porch steps groan under his weight, as if bearing the burden of countless secrets. George raises his hand to knock, but the door swings open at his touch. A gust of stale air rushes out, carrying with it the scent of decay and something else. He hesitates on the threshold, every instinct screaming at him to turn back. But the storm reaches behind him, and something pulls him forward. As George steps inside, the door slams shut behind him. The sound echoes through the house, a finality that sends chills down his spine. In the dim light, he sees a foyer frozen in time, dust-covered furniture, faded photographs of long-forgotten faces. George calls out, his voice swallowed by the oppressive silence. No answer comes, save for the creaking of settling wood. He moves deeper into the house, each step taking him further from safety. The floorboards whisper beneath his feet, telling tales of those who came before. And as George ventures into the unknown, he remains unaware of the eyes that watch from the shadows. For in this forgotten farmhouse, a nightmare is about to unfold. Lightning illuminates the farmhouse, a decaying sentinel against the stormy sky. Its weathered boards groan in protest, as if trying to shake off years of neglect. George squints through the rain-lashed windshield. The farm seeming to flicker in and out of existence. One moment, a solid structure. The next, a ghostly mirage in the downpour. He pulls the car to the side of the road. Gravel crunching beneath the tires. The engine dies, leaving only the sound of rain hammering the metal roof. George peers out at the looming structure, its silhouette a jagged tear in the night sky. Windows, dark and empty, stare back like soulless eyes. A rusted mailbox catches his attention. The name Blackwood barely legible. The metal flag stands at attention, as if waiting for a letter that will never come. The overgrown path to the house winds through a sea of unkempt grass. Weeds reach out with grasping fingers, as if trying to snare any who dare approach. An ancient oak stands sentinel, its gnarled branches scraping against the house. With each gust of wind, it seems to whisper warnings to turn back. The porch sags under the weight of years, rotting wood threatening to give way. A porch swing creaks in the wind, swaying with an unseen passenger. Shutters hang askew, banging rhythmically in the gusts. Paint peels away in long strips, revealing the house's skeletal framework beneath. A weather vane atop the roof spins wildly, unable to settle. North, south, east, west, as if even the wind can't decide which way to blow. Lightning strikes again, casting strange shadows across the farmhouse's face. For a moment, George swears he sees faces pressed against the upper windows. The farmhouse seems to breathe, expanding and contracting in the storm. An illusion of the rain, surely. Yet George can't shake the feeling of life within. A flash of movement catches his eye. A curtain twitching in a second-floor window. But when he looks again, all is still, save for the relentless rain. The front door hangs slightly ajar. An invitation or a warning. Darkness spills out from within. A void that seems to pull at George's very soul. He notices a strange symbol carved above the door. Ancient and withered, yet somehow untouched by time. It seems to pulse with an inner light, drawing his gaze, impossible to look away. The air around the farmhouse feels different, heavier, charged with something beyond the storm. The hairs on George's arms stand on end, as if the very atmosphere is electrified. A sudden gust of wind carries the scent of decay and something else. Something old, something patient, something that has been waiting for far too long. George's hand reaches for the door handle, his body moving of its own accord. Every instinct screams at him to drive away, yet he finds himself stepping out into the rain. The farmhouse looms before him, a titan of wood and secrets, and as George takes his first step towards it, he crosses a threshold from which there may be no return. George steps over the threshold, the floorboards groaning beneath his feet. The door swings shut behind him, sealing him in darkness thick as tar. He fumbles for his phone, activating the flashlight, the beam cutting through the gloom like a knife. Dust motes dance in the light, swirling in patterns that seem almost deliberate. The foyer unfolds before him, a time capsule of forgotten memories. Faded photographs line the walls, their subjects' eyes seeming to follow George's every move. He moves deeper into the house, each step echoing in the oppressive silence. The wallpaper peels away in long strips, revealing strange symbols etched into the plaster beneath. A grandfather clock stands silent in the corner, its hands frozen at 3:33. As George passes, it springs to life, chiming 13 impossible times. The living room is a museum of decay, furniture draped in sheets like pale ghosts. George's hand brushes against one, and it crumbles to dust at his touch. A mirror hangs crooked on the wall, its surface rippling like disturbed water. George's reflection stares back, but its eyes are black, empty voids. He turns away, heart pounding, only to see the room has changed behind him. The furniture has rearranged itself, an impossible geometry that defies logic. A child's laughter echoes from upstairs, followed by the patter of small feet. George calls out, his voice trembling, but only silence answers. He ascends the creaking stairs, each step taking him further from safety. Family portraits line the stairwell, their eyes following him, judging him. At the top, a long hallway stretches before him, doors lining both sides, each slightly ajar. As he passes, they slam shut in sequence, a domino effect of foreboding. One door remains open, inviting him in. A child's room, frozen in time. Toys scattered about, as if recently played with. A rocking horse sways gently, with no one upon it. A music box on the dresser springs to life, its tinkling melody distorted and wrong. The mirror above it shows not the room, but a dark forest, moonlit and menacing. George backs away, pulse racing, only to bump into something solid behind him. He turns, expecting the worst, but finds only empty air. The temperature plummets, his breath visible in the sudden chill. Frost creeps across the windows, forming patterns that whisper of ancient secrets. A book on a nearby shelf catches his eye, its leather binding seeming to pulse with life. As he reaches for it, the pages flip on their own, revealing text in a language long forgotten. The words seem to crawl across the page, rearranging themselves before his eyes. They spell out a message, clear and chilling. Welcome home, George. We've been waiting. His name, written in a book decades old. Impossible, yet undeniably there. George drops the book, stumbling backward, only to find the door has vanished, leaving solid wall. Panic sets in as he searches for an exit, the room seeming to stretch and contort around him. Shadows gather in the corners, taking on forms that defy description. A whisper in his ear, cold and ancient. You cannot leave. You were always meant to be here. George's scream is swallowed by the house, as the shadows surge forward, enveloping him. In that moment, he understands. This was never about exploring a farmhouse. It was about the farmhouse exploring him. The shadows recede, leaving George gasping, his mind reeling from the impossible. The room shifts once more, revealing a hidden staircase descending into darkness. An unseen force pulls him forward, each step taking him deeper into the house's heart. The air grows thick with the scent of earth and decay, and something older, something hungry. At the bottom, a cavernous room unfolds, its walls covered in intricate, glowing symbols. In the center, a stone altar, ancient and stained with the remnants of dark rituals. Ghostly figures materialize around George, echoes of the Blackwood family through generations. Their voices overlap in a cacophony of whispers, telling a tale of ambition, power, and terrible sacrifice. The truth unravels before him. This house, a nexus of otherworldly energy. The Blackwoods, custodians of forbidden knowledge, seeking to harness forces beyond mortal comprehension. Each generation paid a price, their essence bound to the house, feeding its power. But the hunger grew too great. The house needed fresh blood, an outsider to complete the cycle. George realizes with horror, he wasn't drawn here by chance. The house had called to him, across time and space, for this very moment. The symbols on the walls pulse faster, their glow intensifying with each beat. The ghostly figures draw closer, their forms becoming more solid, more real. George tries to run, but his feet won't move, the stone floor seeming to liquefy beneath him. He sinks slowly, inexorably, as if the house itself is swallowing him whole. The Blackwood spirits circle him, their voices rising in an otherworldly chant. George feels his very essence being pulled apart, unraveling like threads from a cosmic tapestry. His memories flash before his eyes, but they're not just his anymore. He sees through the eyes of countless others, all those who came before, all those the house consumed. The boundaries of his self begin to blur. George Blackwood, the latest in an ancient line. He understands now, with perfect clarity. This was always his destiny, his homecoming. The chanting reaches a fever pitch, the symbols on the walls burning white-hot. George feels the last vestiges of his old self slipping away, as the house's power surges through him. In that final moment, he sees beyond, to realms of wonder and terror beyond imagining. And as George Blackwood takes his place among the spirits, the house settles, satiated, for now. Days later, a tow truck arrives. George's abandoned car, the only sign he was ever there. The farmhouse stands silent in the distance, its windows dark, waiting for the next traveler to stray too close. And deep within its walls, in a place between worlds, a new voice joins the chorus of the damned. George's essence, forever part of the house's dark history. His earthly fate remains a mystery. No trace of him ever found. But on stormy nights, locals swear they hear a voice on the wind calling out for help that will never come. The Blackwood Farmhouse stands eternal, a hungry sentinel in the Vermont wilderness, waiting, always waiting, for the next unwary soul to cross its threshold.